This is Gus, Chapter 3, written by Jason Garden, read by Rhea. Joel made his way to the kitchen at 0900, bag of coffee beans in one hand, grinder and mug in the other. He was almost excited. Yes, this was a ritual he had performed hundreds of times, and he got so happy just thinking about the outcome. He plugged the grinder into an outlet and fully expected something to go wrong. The outlet had yellowed with age. He wondered how long it had been there. Was it as old as this house? Was it just poorly taken care of? Regardless, the grinder came to life. Joel was so convinced it would not work that the whirl from the blades made him jump. Joel started laughing to himself. The entire situation, him being alone, him not being alone, the horrible front door, it was all hilarious to him. Only he could manage to find an abode that should have been condemned. As the kettle started to rumble with boiling water, he realized something. He was getting internet today. What a glorious moment. He started making his favorite thing and then remembered that he was getting his second favorite thing. He just wished he had someone to share in his excitement. Joel was not incredibly social, but he was far from antisocial. The dead silence was getting to him. Every sound was heightened. With a way too loud click of the kettle, the water was ready. Joel poured it through the beans and into his mug. He then turned around and headed back to the couch. It was one of the few pieces of furniture available to him, so he was going to take full advantage. Joel sat with a thud. He placed his cup of coffee on the ground in front of him and reached for his laptop. No internet yet doesn't mean no games, Joel said to the shadows. The talking to himself was starting to worry him. He could spend the better part of an hour with his eyes locked onto the screen, fingers placed on proper parts of the keyboard. The phone would be ignored, though no one tried to get a hold of him anyway. He was in the zone. He kept his eyes glued to the screen. This will take my mind off everything. Several hours had passed. A knock shattered the silence. Startled, Joel sprang to his feet. It was dark outside. He had been so involved in his game most of the day passed him by. "Who's there?" Joel yelled into the ether. "It's Gus," the voice radiated through the door. "Can I come in?" Joel was shaken, but he obliged the relative stranger's request. He walked towards the door to open it, but Gus had found a way to enter without him. Not that he would have had a hard time doing so. He smelt mildly of cheap alcohol and looked upset. Joel prepared himself for a horrible time. "Hope you don't mind me barging in. It's the one thing I'm good at," Gus said with a huge grin. "What you doing?" Joel sighed. "Whatever. I trust you, for now. I'm just playing games. Killing time. What's up?" He thought about launching into a rant about personal space, but decided against it. He assumed it would be to a deaf audience. "Just looking for something to do. This town is boring as shit," Gus shrugged. Not what Joel was hoping to hear so soon after moving in. "At least it's a nice night?" Joel half asked, half exclaimed. It was clear, warm, and calm, the perfect weather. "Want to have a bonfire?" "Hell no," Gus retorted. Joel put the plan for a fire out there without explaining to Gus it was his dream to have his own fire in his own backyard. He had never done so living in the city, and he was hoping Gus could teach him the proper way to do it. Defeated, Joel slumped with his back on the door frame. Gus continued to stand there, looking bored. His eyes moved from wall to wall, looking for... Joel wondered if Gus knew. Gus raised an eyebrow. "'Kay, next idea other than fire." Joel was at a loss. He hadn't done much away from his computer since he'd started his job 3 years ago. Gus walked into the kitchen. Joel did not move. He just watched him float between rooms, curious where he would land next. "You got any booze?" Gus asked. "I likes me some alcohol." "I was going to pick some up tomorrow," Joel replied, mildly embarrassed that he had nothing of that caliber if someone came by. He was not surprised in the slightest by his question. "What's your poison?" "Poison?" Gus looked surprised. Shit, not poison, you know, beer or wine or whatever. It's an expression. I mean, what do you think? Joel was getting frustrated by his uninvited guest. Why didn't you ask it that way? Gus asked, half laughing. Beer, red wine, moonshine, whatever. Gus started to smile as he spoke. Joel was pleased with the simple request. I have a little bit of brandy. I'll pick more up tomorrow. Then why the hell did you even ask? Gus looked mildly disgusted with Joel. Joel felt his face turn a bright red scarlet, and he looked at the ground. Don't worry, I gots it. Gus then pulled a bright green flask from his boot and took a swig. Why was he making a big deal about booze if he has some on him? Joel wondered. Joel liked Gus, even if the flask did raise red flags. Gus had yet to ruin Joel's opinion of him. Showing up to his house half drunk was a bit of a stain on Gus's character, but not enough to keep Joel away. He felt strangely comforted by the youth, like he had known him forever. Gus polished off his flask in no time and removed it from his mouth with a pop. Gus let a smile creep across his face. "'Kay, I'm good. What are you going to have?" Gus asked, alcohol beading on his lips. Joel noticed for the first time since Gus got there just how uncomfortable he looked. Is everything okay? Joel asked, hoping he wasn't intruding on something private. Gus's eyes widened. Yeah. He quickly looked at the ground, his breath becoming quick and shallow. Joel, I'm in trouble, he finally said. I put way too much into my relationship with Suzanne. I'm broke. I owe a lot of money to people. They want their cut now. Joel looked off into the abyss, as if searching for the right things to say. He wanted to help, but he didn't really know Gus. He just hated someone being in pain. He wanted to be able to give everyone anything they needed, even someone he just met. I'm good, just slipping, Gus muttered. Joel gave Gus a half smile and pulled out the bottle of brandy. There was little more than a shot in the bottle, but he felt like it was rude to let someone drink on their own, even if they were very drunk when they arrived. Cheers, Joel said while reaching over to Gus's flask and giving it a little knock. The two took a swig at the same time as if planned. Gus was only there until his flask was empty. He and Joel did not speak much. Joel, on top of not knowing what to say, felt as if the youth just needed silence. Well, Gus said. I'm off. Later, dude. That was a quick visit. Joel watched Gus's back as he left. He was concerned. He barely knew Gus and realized how dangerous it was to leave himself so open to strangers, but there was something about him. Something endearing about Gus's calm demeanor that made Joel unable to not trust him. Joel smiled in spite of himself as he sat in a chair across the room. What the hell am I doing? Why would Gus launch into such personal things so fast? How drunk was he?